All right, and we are back for another action-packed episode of our False Flag Nation show. This has been a very interesting couple weeks.
It certainly
Uh,
has.
a lot of news to cover, and Jesus, we had what? Well, we're going to get into obviously Rand Paul's filibuster, the Patriot Act, the USA Freedom Act.
It's just passed 2 days ago.
Right, and geez, what a turbulent couple of days.
We also had the sentencing of Ross Ulbricht, the Silk Road founder,
Yes.
a couple days ago. That's a big deal. And the documentary that just came out about that.
Very interesting.
And we're also going to be examining how all these themes relate back to the mechanisms of the deep state that Mike Lofgren, former U.S. congressional aide, talked about in his interview with Bill Moyers a little over a year ago. And each year I just see more and more mechanisms of this apparatus of power in the country revealing itself. So it's becoming more and more transparent, and there's fractures forming within it. And we're going to break that down for you as we go on in the show. But on a lighter note, Mr. Revere, can you start us off with the
on a lighter note,
recent headline?
Is this on the priority list of False Flag Nation? Probably not. But look, I think we should definitely address it. This week, as you all are probably aware, we had the unveiling in Vanity magazine of the all new and improved, formerly known as Bruce Jenner, is Caitlyn Jenner.
I don't know if improve's the right word, but yeah.
It's definitely, manipulated. I don't know what. And we've had heated discussions about this before, and it is disturbing. There's no doubt about that. The idea of a man, especially, he is probably the definition of alpha male, too. If you've ever seen...
At one point in time, yes, at his prime, when he was a hero to kids all across America, on the
Wheaties
cover, on Wheaties boxes, winning gold medals in the Olympics.
A decathlon is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And when he won that medal, let's just go back, I think it was 1976.
Yeah.
And he won the gold medal in the decathlon. He actually did I think it was another mile victory lap afterwards. And let me just put this in perspective. I believe there was a Russian dude who actually fainted before finishing, and he was convulsing on the ground from dehydration. And that just kind of puts things in perspective of how much of a literal alpha male this guy was. He was a peak athlete, and now we have Caitlyn. So a lot of people are probably quick to judge, and rightfully so. I mean, this guy, let's be honest, he's kind of guy, woman, he's kind of a freak. But
he's a little unbalanced. A little. I'm wondering not so much what's going on in his mind, but what's going on in the minds of his kids. Remember Brody Jenner?
Yes,
his brother,
Brody.
The Princes of Malibu, and Bromance.
Yeah.
From that show. What's going on in their minds right now?
Does it really matter? They've all sucked the cock of corporate America anyway. They're on MTV contracts, and
absolutely.
Do they have any legs to stand on? Probably not.
No.
And let's not trick ourselves to see that the Kardashians have nothing to do with any of this. That whole family was probably destroyed by what little good they had in that family was probably destroyed by the TV show that they had.
Oh yeah,
and that builds upon everything. However, let's talk about former Bruce, now known as Kate.
Indeed.
As everybody knows, like I said, cover of Vanity Fair, in a dress. He's got tits now, makeup, obviously a lot of work.
Do you think he was Buffalo Billing it, just tucking it between his legs?
I think so, yeah, because I believe in most states they require like 6 months to a year after having partial surgery to become a woman if you're a male.
There's stages to this.
Right. There's like a psychological.
I did not know this.
I think there's a psychological evaluation that needs to be done because obviously once you cut your dick off, there's no going back, and certainly no going back if you turn it into a vagina.
I've heard there's ways to create some crude facsimile of a dick.
Really?
For women who want to change it to men. I don't know the specifics. It's not something I've done a great deal of research on. But,
we'll have to get into that, I'm sure. But, all right, let's get down to the facts here. A lot of people are probably criticizing this, but interestingly enough, and I know it sounds bizarre, I have heard in the past, and I've done a little research, and there's this theory that while women are pregnant and while children are very young, we're talking 3 months to a year.
Yeah.
That if these children are exposed to high amounts of soy, which is made up of a lot of estrogen.
It's estrogenic, yeah.
Yeah. And these human-created xenoestrogens, which are basically produced, and they're in plastic containers, they're in food products, they're in hybrid food products.
Not naturally occurring.
Exactly. And what they do, these xenoestrogens, is that they mimic regular estrogen in the body, but they're obviously genetically enhanced. So when these children and when these mothers and the fetuses are exposed to them, there's a theory that a fetus or a baby can be already male.
Yeah.
And when they're shot up with these different chemicals and estrogens and whatnot, that can literally change either physically at some point or the brain of the child.
Well, it makes sense, and I think we should clarify something. I have heard that, and I believe this is true, that in the gestation process, all fetuses begin as female.
That's
in the beginning,
correct.
And then over the course of the pregnancy, either it will become a male baby or it will remain a female one. And I guess what you're describing is the effects of these, whether it's eating a bunch of soy or the synthetic estrogens, are interfering in that natural process, and so it might inhibit the transformation somewhat from like the female to a male. Like maybe it starts out as a male, or it doesn't go all the way as far as it should have, or something like that. Something like that very well could be happening. I don't know. I can't prove it, but it's one of those things. It seems like there's a lot of circumstantial evidence to support it.
Yeah, and this, it'd be interesting to see. There's got to be a study that will be done. If there are studies that have been done, I haven't seen them, but there is scientific theories that suggest that this is the cause of these types of situations. So with that being said, it's hard, you can't put yourself, you can't really understand what a person like that is going through, because weirder things have happened. Maybe he is a woman mentally trapped inside of a guy's body.
Well,
who knows?
I think that's what you're saying is what's causing that is the question you're raising.
Yeah, I mean,
and it maybe it is, maybe it does naturally occur. Maybe it is something that's like that is in the environment that's causing a spike in this sort of thing. You can't tell me that all this stuff in food is not affecting the population in some way. Have you seen? Yeah, as someone who spent 3.5 years in the D.C. metro area, we were talking about this a couple hours ago. These so-called new males, like these kind of flimsy, sensitive, kind of very
sleek.
Yes, sleek is a good word for it. Guys that are like just very soft spoken. Don't want to make too many ripples in the water. Don't want to draw too much
cause a fuss.
Yeah,
they
don't want to cause a fuss. You know, they'll wait unless they want to wait in line for 3 hours for a designer cupcake in Georgetown or something like that. Anyone listening to this knows what I'm talking about. It's in the 90s they were called metrosexuals. It has evolved into something beyond
the
that.
New male. I think you kind of coined that phrase. I don't know if it's popularized.
I don't think I coined it. I think you were saying it, and then I've seen it in the media here and there. But it's
a disturbing trend.
Yes. This raises the obvious question, the most logical question to ask when you see this: is this a plot by the Illuminati to train the population, condition them
to be more docile,
easier to control, more submissive? Evidence suggests yes.
Yes.
Of course.
Why not?
Yeah. I mean, looking at this objectively and without jumping to conclusions, you have to conclude that, I guess that contradicts itself, but you would have to assume that, this stuff is the deep state that we mentioned earlier, this marriage of corporate and power with government regulation and everything. They're approving all these chemical additives and shit that's cooked up in laboratories that has does God knows what to the body, God knows what to your balls, and it's making people just it's turning the men of America and the Western world in general just into wusses. It's just turning everyone into a big fucking wuss. And it's when people are, have that sort of predilection, they are going to be easier to control. The most dangerous thing to the mechanisms of power in this country are strong-willed, free-thinking men that have their own opinions and are willing to stand up for them and theoretically fight for them. That's a real threat. So if you want to control a population, what do?
Disarm them and make them weak.
Yes, like if you're a farmer who wants to make his cattle behave, what do? You snip their balls off. That's what the population is being chemically castrated and doesn't even know it.
Well, literally castrated too. Let me step back. I don't know. there's remember in the South, I forget exactly where, there was a lawsuit that was paid out actually to families. I believe they were African Americans in the South, where the government and the local officials, I think, they did some sort of sterilization. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think there was a women's prison, I think, where they were sterilizing the prisoners, and I think I'm not sure if it was like somewhere in the South or in California, but they were sterilizing the prisoners like against their will.
Yeah.
Either that or they weren't telling them what they were doing. They were telling them like, oh, you need to get your appendix out or something, and they were
sterilizing.
Yeah, they were removing their ovaries or what have you.
Yeah.
So the uterus rather, and
so people say this stuff is impossible.
Yeah.
But it is. It's been done time and time again. And look, there's fluoride in our drinking water. We drink it every day. I do too. Yeah. I brush my teeth with it. It's terrible. We have to try and stop. But if there's fluoride in the water, there's antibiotics in the water. It's in our food. There's trace amounts
of birth control pills and psychiatric drugs in tap water.
Yep.
That's been proven.
So all of this stuff is affecting us. And, who knows? Who are we to judge this Caitlyn thing? Because maybe she's just a product of the Illuminati. Or there's also the other theory that the Kardashian clan fucked something up for the Baphomet worshipping Illuminati Masons at the Hollywood level somewhere. So this is sort of payback where either we're going to kill the entire Kardashian clan, or you have to be a literal human sacrifice and turn yourself into this androgynous thing.
One of them had to offer themselves up.
Exactly.
The High Council.
To Moloch or something.
Okay. All right.
Leviathan.
Yeah. Weighing all the pros and cons and trying to be objective and rational about this. I can't see any flaw in that argument. I really can't.
Look, stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened.
You know,
I mean, we live in a bizarre world, and the Illuminati is real. The Illuminati is real. The Illuminati is real.
Is real. Subliminal message coming out of there. He's one of them. William Revere, indeed. He's no patriot. He's a traitor. He's a spy. All right.
I think I'm going to write that down.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
It's real.
I think people are probably changing videos right now.
Yeah. Before we lose any, let's move on to the Patriot Act here.
Let's get down to the meat and potatoes.
Okay, so basically what happened was the act expired on Monday. Or it expired midnight on Monday. And for about a day, at least legally, the NSA wasn't allowed to spy on us.
We were free for 2 days.
Yeah, I know. This is operating under the assumption that the NSA actually obeys the law, which I don't believe for 1 second they actually turned their machines off and stopped.
And what sent hundreds of people home?
Yeah, no, paid days off for everyone. Yeah, right.
Well, who knows? It probably did happen. And they went home with their computers from work and did it anyway.
Yeah. But after a couple days, on June 2nd, so 2 days ago, they passed the USA Freedom Act, which was kind of the
compromise
reform bill, which, at least according to what's most of the mainstream media's news coverage has been saying, it gets rid of the more controversial parts of the Patriot Act.
Article 215, I think, right?
Correct. But what are your thoughts on this? Is this a big,
hoax?
Is this a big PR stunt by the government to make it seem like they're listening to us? Is this?
I don't know quite what to think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what this Freedom Act does is it puts more power into companies like Verizon and T-Mobile and the large providers for phone calls and phone records and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it basically says that the government can ask them for the information.
Yeah.
And they're just supposed to hand it over. So it kind of creates a little border between 100%, transferable information without any questions asked, which for a lot of neo-Republicans, that's a great idea, and everybody thinks that's awesome, and it's a compromise, and it keeps us safe and protects our civil liberties.
At Seasons Assisted Living, Mom is being cared for the way she really...
Oh, did we have a little...
there was a pop-up ad that came up there.
But at least it wasn't your normal pop-up ad.
Yeah, that's it, nothing. But Pornhub. That's it. I don't know how that got there. But
I just noticed something about your computer.
Yeah.
What's missing?
What's missing from my computer?
You have your camera showing. Did you do that?
That's because I was on Skype today.
Okay.
Which, the conversation was no doubt being monitored by the powers that be. While I was talking with... Where fucking is again? Well, I was talking with my friend in India, but, given that we have no doubt they've been tracking us for some time, I will cover my lens with my thumb for the duration of this podcast. You can never be too secure.
They will triangulate our position
using the cell phone towers.
Yes.
And the V-chips implanted into our head in the late 90s to prevent us from swearing. It did not work, but the nanobots, which...
what were we talking about? Okay, Patriot.
You were talking about the Freedom Act.
All right, so it's a Freedom Act. So basically there's some protections, and it kind of puts more pressure on the private companies to be open with the records if need be. That's my understanding. And but that then again that kind of goes back to what we were talking about in one of the main points of the deep state. You have this kind of bizarre relationship between the NSA and the national and the security divisions of the United States and the military and the CIA, and this relationship with Silicon Valley, with Facebook, with Twitter, with Snapchat, with all these different companies, Tumblr.
Yeah.
And, like they said, in the beginning, you have the Mark Zuckerbergs and the titans of social media kind of portraying themselves as these cyber libertarians.
Yeah.
Yet, we all voluntarily gave all of our information to Facebook without even knowing it.
Yeah.
We gave our date of birth, we gave our location, we gave our interests, we posted pictures of ourselves. We have all of our communications, which in the Facebook contracts they can look at any time.
Yeah.
All of our videos.
Yeah, and
Anything.
anything you post on Facebook, if you actually take the time to read the fine print, like that, it basically
They own it.
Yeah, their stance is if you post a picture on this site, it's our picture now, and
Right.
we can use it for whatever we want. We can put it in an advertisement.
Yep. And they use the target advertisements. If you
Yeah.
ever searched on Google for something,
Well, yeah, while you're logged into Facebook, Facebook tracks what websites you're on.
It's
if you're logged in.
terrifying.
So I always I log in for like half an hour. I do what I need to do. I log off because I don't want them tracking what I'm doing. And like Google does the same thing. If you're logged into your Gmail account,
right?
while you're searching for stuff, they keep tabs on what you're searching for and everything. I'm not sure what to think about this. It just the USA Freedom Act. It doesn't seem to have changed much of anything. There's some reforms that apply specifically to phone records, but it doesn't. The FISA courts still exist.
Right.
I
think that
it's gotten to the point you can't really trust a reform act even when it's put out there, because you have to operate under the assumption they are operating by their own laws, their own rules, which they don't. It doesn't. I mean, that's pretty common knowledge that the government doesn't play by its own rules. So it's hard to form it's hard to make an informed opinion about this particular act.
Where do you think this is going? The future of the Patriot Act, the Freedom Act. What's next? I mean, really, what could be next?
Where's it all going? It's going.
And how does this fit into the deep state and the spider web of the Illuminati?
Sure, yeah.
Where is this going?
To clarify, for people who don't understand this term we're using, the deep state, this term was, it goes back to spy novels about the Cold War and everything, but it's the title of an article by former congressional aide Mike
Gaffner?
No, Mike Lofgren, who was a former Republican congressional aide for 28 years in Congress, and he was a numbers guy. He handled a lot of analysis for budget analysis for national security, military spending, blah 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 blah. And he, over time, just saw these things that just didn't add up. The math just was not jiving with what the government was saying it was doing. Like a lot of the defense spending in as early as 2001 was being directed towards Iraq rather than
Afghanistan.
rather than Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And this was like months after 9/11. Shit's going towards Iraq, and he was asking like, "What's going on? Why is this happening?" He kept getting stonewalled there, and he eventually became so disgusted that he left and wrote this essay called "The Deep State," as well as a pretty popular book, which goes into a lot more detail about this. Where he breaks down what he describes as a marriage between corporates and government power, where it basically doesn't matter which party is nominally in power. These social issues like abortion, gay marriage, like whatever. This is just window dressing. This is bread and circuses for the slightly more civic-minded and intelligent people. Stupid people have Honey Boo Boo and Smackdown, and the people who fancy themselves a little more engaged in their communities have these social issues. The reality is those don't really amount to anything.
They're
at the end of the day.
Yeah,
they're distractions. The stuff that Congress is, quote, deadlocked about, can't get anything done. The reality is the state within the state, the mechanisms of power that are not directly elected, that don't, people don't really know who they are. That stuff's all functioning as smoothly as it ever has. It's
and those are the chairmans of certain boards.
Yeah,
those are the people that aren't elected.
Yeah,
that's the big thing.
It's the term bureaucracy is flown around very flippantly, and in a way that describes our form of government. We don't have a democracy; we have a bureaucracy. He talks about the revolving door phenomenon, which is, the more well-known example of this is the, what goes on in the military-industrial complex. Everyone knows what that is. It's you have these people in the Pentagon, these colonels, generals, that are in charge of approving products and projects that are contracted out to defense contractors, and then they retire from the Pentagon, from the military, get their pension, and then they start a second career working at the defense contractor that they were just in charge of overseeing their contract. So it's this revolving door. A lot of these people, they end up on the boards of defense contractors, or in the marriage between forms of power doesn't just end there. It goes to Wall Street as well. David Petraeus has a job with a it's a hedge fund or something like Kohlberg, Krautis and Company. I'm going to look this up.
And what the fuck does he do there? Honest to God.
That I couldn't tell you.
I don't know his history. I don't know what he studied, but it seems to me that a general isn't necessarily some sort of...
I mean, there's a lot of like financial management and stuff that goes into managing different aspects of the military, but it seems like there's some old boy network,
definitely
smoke-filled room type shit going on there, for sure. And the worst example of this at all that I saw in this whole essay was the symbiotic relationship between Wall Street and the U.S. Treasury.
Absolutely.
Where you have, these people that worked on Wall Street for 20 years, and then they take jobs working at the Treasury. And various banks, they named a few of them by name, like Citibank and what have you, that actually give very large bonuses, like huge financial incentives. They gave one guy $9 million, another got $4 million. They give them bonuses if they accept a job offer with the federal government. So they make more money leaving Wall Street and going to Washington to pretend to regulate Wall Street than they do remaining on Wall Street. Like it's
but basically they're working for Citibank, they're working for Bank of
Absolutely.
America, Chase.
Do you think you're gonna bite the hand that just fed you $9 million? No, you're not.
Exactly.
No, you're fucking not.
And they're self-regulating. That's
exactly
what they're doing. They're going in there creating policy. They're creating policy for the companies that they basically still work for.
Yeah.
And keep an eye on everything and get insider information, and who's going to stop them? It's
Yeah.
technically not illegal, although I think it should be. But, the same thing is true for all branches of government and all different private organizations. You have, Clarence Thomas, who's a Supreme Court judge who was appointed by Bush, who was previously a head lawyer for Monsanto. And then you have Clarence Thomas creating law that affects Monsanto. And you think that he's not having the same kind of sweetheart deal with them?
Absolutely.
And, I think it will come out that Silicon Valley titans like the Zuckerbergs and the Snapchat dude and all this, the Tumblr, Yahoo, all these guys are going to be kind of, like you said, the revolving door. They're going to be entering different types of industry and going back into government and creating and regulating policy and that'll come out in the next couple of years, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. It's called Kohlberg Kravis Roberts is the one that hired Petraeus.
And that's a asset management firm or something like that. Sounds like one of those.
Yeah, it's
organizations.
KKR Global Institute. Focus on economic forecast, communications, public policy, and emerging markets. Blah 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 blah
Gotcha.
blah. Petraeus is he's a chairman.
Wow.
Of that institute. But yeah, I mean he's a very notable figure, which is why he stands out as an example. There's a lot of people who are not as famous, the exact same things going on. I mean it goes on with thousands of people. It's not just him. There's not any one single person that's in charge of this. I mean, assuming obviously it's like a small uber plutocracy within the plutocracy, if we're talking about like the Council of 13, the Bilderberg Group, and all that.
all the essentials.
Sure, and there's a lot of overlap between these groups. It's like a Venn diagram. Here.
Exactly. Now, here's the thing. We're going to take this a step further. Is the deep state one of many deep states throughout the world, and is the deep state globally, meaning all of them, is that not the end product of the Illuminati? Are we? I mean, obviously, I think that's a combination of one global deep state.
I think this is where things become kind of nebulous here, and it just gets sort of like you can only see half the picture. So this is where you start to lose people. People start dismissing, that's just conspiracy nonsense. Yeah. I mean, if you think about what's what a conspiracy is, it's people meeting in secret and deciding upon a course of action. I mean, that's happening every day, all over the place, about many, many, many different things. So yeah, it happens all the time. And this mechanism of power, the deep state, that's really just a more down-to-earth way of describing this whole network, because that's what it really is, a network of power. And yes, it absolutely exists outside the U.S. It exists all over the world. The global deep state is, the quote, Illuminati. They're the people inside the circle.
Yep.
In the it is the architecture of power on a global scale. It is these networks of extremely powerful people who decided upon courses of action with very little input from the people they supposedly govern or the people they sell to. And, there's essentially isn't anything you can fucking do about it on a day-to-day scale. Do you think you have any say in what goes on in the Bilderberg Group meetings?
No.
Are you privy to the minutes of their meetings, what's being discussed and brought up? The Trilateral Commission?
The Bohemian Grove meetings?
Oh, well, I mean, that doesn't seem like a business meeting. That seems like a quasi-frat boy religious ceremony there.
It's like the Skull and Bones on steroids, though. Yeah. But let's be frank here. When you have presidents there, you have secretaries of states, you have high-level Hollywood executives.
Yeah.
It's business.
Yeah.
If it don't make dollar, it don't make sense. I believe Tyga said that.
Tyga. See, he was defecting. He was trying to get the word out.
Yeah, he was.
To us.
No, no.
Don't
I
bite
don't
the
think
hand
so.
that feeds you.
No, he's smarter than that. As we were saying, what can you do when you are in the deep state, when you're in this matrix, this Illuminati-controlled world? And I think that's a good way to dovetail this into the Silk Road, because I think that's exactly what Ulbricht tried to do.
It's a perfect dovetail for it, and that is what he tried to do, and that's why they were so vicious and like desperately trying to crush what he was doing. Silk Road was like a deep web site, not to be confused with a deep state. Deep web's kind of a it's sort of like the dark side of the internet. It's unregulated, it's completely untraceable, everything. And basically, he created this site for like the 6 people who don't know what Silk Road is, that you could sell anything you want anonymously and just pay with bitcoins. And
Bitcoin, the untraceable digital currency
Yep.
that's not controlled by any government, which is another reason why it was shut down.
Yeah, another thing the powers that be fear is Bitcoin.
Yep.
But he created this online marketplace, and people were just began selling illegal things. He took a very hyper libertarian viewpoint. Is hey, if people want to sell drugs or what have you, they should be able to do it.
Right.
Be aware of the risks, educate yourself. He appears to have encouraged a very, maybe ethical isn't the right word for it, but responsible viewpoint on there. That there were dealers on there that wouldn't sell to people that they thought were immature or couldn't handle it, things like that. He encouraged that sort of atmosphere and his culture there.
Right. His whole thing was that you take out the confrontation of a drug deal.
Yeah.
You take out the fear of being robbed, of being, your shit being stolen, your money, guns, violence, gang violence. I mean, that kind of stuff happens all the time.
Drug dealers are not going to get in turf wars when there's no fucking turf. Like that, if all drug deals went through Silk Road or similar sites, the cartels in Mexico would be out of business tomorrow.
Maybe we just answered our own question as to why the site was shut down.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know who else would be out of business? The DEA.
Mm-hmm.
The CIA to some extent. That's
absolutely.
They do play a role in the
FBI,
war on drugs. Yeah, FBI. All these
bullshit, fucking made up careers.
These drug task forces that are essentially make work jobs because they created the situations that necessitates those jobs. If drugs were not illegal, there would be no need for the DEA, and drugs are only illegal because the government made them so, beginning in the 1930s with these massive propaganda campaigns, reefer madness and all that, and then the quote war on drugs began in the 60s. Which has been an absolute disaster, and they've just kept ramping it up and up and up until very recently.
Every president claims they're going to, control this drug fiasco in the United States. It's never going to happen.
It doesn't work. Anytime you make something illegal, it just creates a black market for it. Hey, case in point, Silk Road.
Yeah.
And they did eventually catch Ross Ulbricht, and he was in prison for about 2 years.
He made a lot of fucking money, too. A lot of money. I don't know exactly how he profited from it. I don't understand if there was a fee associated with each transaction or what.
Yeah,
but I don't know, because obviously I was not on the website. But it's interesting.
I mean, he wasn't living like an actual drug lord, though. I don't think he was making
but he made millions. I think he made millions of dollars. I'm pretty sure
I'm not sure he made that much.
We should look it up.
I know he was able to live off it. He didn't have like a day job or anything.
Yeah, either way, he made a considerable amount of money because, if the allegations against him are true, he was said to have paid off different people trying to blackmail him, and he even supposedly ordered a hit against someone who was going to rat on him.
Yeah, one of the moderators on his forum was caught.
You're right.
In Utah.
But he was tossing around $250,000 for a hit.
Yeah, and that turned out to be bullshit. Like there was no proof, and it was a story that the police department put out, and the media kept repeating it. And it's just one of those things that if you repeat a lie 1,000 times, it becomes the truth. And that just became part of the narrative that there's murder for hire. And meanwhile, they eventually dropped the charge because it was completely made up. There was no proof for it, but that was still stuck in people's minds, and well,
that's what I think that's what they used to hold him without bail.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't charge him with it, they said something like
it was like an uncharged
crime. Exactly. So they were able to hold him on it, but not charge him for it.
Which is, you can tell they're just
desperate.
They're just like making these terms up as they go along. Like they just retroactively come up with these terms to justify whatever fucked up thing they did, whatever rule they broke, whatever. Oh, we're just going to make up a new terminology for it that fits the situation, fits whatever my end goals are. But, he was just sentenced a couple days ago to life in prison without parole because of this. That's a worse sentence than Charles Manson got. Charles Manson is eligible for parole. He's never gotten it, but he appeals whenever he is, tries out to be released, paroled. Yeah. I don't know. I can't. Word's not coming to me, but this is like they're just twisting the knife in. They can't get these people. Like this is an act of frustration on the part of the powers that be that they finally got this one guy. We're gonna vent all our rage on this one guy.
Well, they're sending a message too.
Yeah.
They're sending a message to future free thinkers. They're sending a message to what's it, the .com guy, the Pirate Bay or Mega Upload, whatever his name is. They can't really nail him for
Pirate Bay guys. Like that's
that dude's that fat dude lives in New Zealand. Is that the something.com? That's literally his
Mega Upload.
Name.
Is that the video site? Yeah, he was in like Taiwan or something, and then that site got shut down. I remember using that site, and I don't know what happened to him. I think he got fined or something. I don't know if he was actually arrested or not, but like the domain was seized or what have you. But like it's as you said,
Kim.com.
Kim. What is it?
Kim.com.
Kim.com. That's his name?
That's
Kim.com?
his name.
Okay. But these people, like the Ross Ulbrichts of the world, the guy in Texas who's like 3D printing the guns, that's a slightly different issue. But these all represent people in this new era who are chipping away at the traditional, again, infrastructure of power, and they're not going down without a fight. Like this, what you're seeing right now is like this. It's like a cornered animal lashing out and like violently attacking these dissidents and sort of online
rebels.
You have rebels, quasi anarchist, libertarian type people like Ross Ulbricht that are they represent an existential threat to the economic system, the political system, the legal system that currently exists, and they're if you're at the top of the food chain, you're not gonna just tolerate someone undermining your position at the top. But I think we're gonna see more and more Ross Ulbrichts sprouting up. I don't think this harsh sentence they gave him is going to work at all. It's just going to inspire more people to do that.
Right.
It's, I'll quote a line from Game of Thrones 2 weeks ago. It's like, when, It's like they're the few, and the Ross Ulbrichts, the people doing podcasts like this, the people tuning into the shows like this, like we are the many, and when the many stop fearing the few,
Mm-hmm.
What happens.
Are you inciting a riot? Are you inciting
Certainly
civil
not.
disobedience?
Certainly not. I would never. I would never offend the dear leader.
Chairman Obama.
Right. It doesn't have. Again, it's a musical chair. It doesn't matter who the. Right now, it's Chairman Obama. A couple of years, it'll be Chairman Hillary or Chairman Rubio or
Do you think
whoever the
it could ever be
candidate ends up being.
Do you think it could ever be Chairman Paul?
Chairman Paul?
Do you think
Chairman Rand Paul?
I don't think so.
I think he'd have to run as an independent because he's going against his own party right now. They're the mainstream Republicans. Like he was fighting with Mitch McConnell. He's the Senate Majority Leader right now. So, what I think is that there's enough popular support right now for someone like him to at least become a nominee. Right. But I think he'd have to do it as an independent. Like the Republican Party is just too vested in money and moneyed interests that they would never allow like someone like him to carry their standard into the 2016 election. I'm trying to find the words here. I think that he raised up such a ruckus with this filibuster that he did, and he just wouldn't. He would not stay out of the spotlight. He made such a so much noise about this, and it galvanized people that were kind of on the fence about it before. Right. And he has a lot more support than the powers that be realized he has, and the opposition to this invasive surveillance and just the general totalitarian fuckery that they push on us has a lot more support than they realize it did. People are not quite as fat and happy and apathetic as they thought they were, as that they were counting on them to be. So that I think they're starting to get a little nervous now. I don't know. I can't predict what'll happen in the next 6 months. With regards to who's going to end up being the candidate for which party, or it'll be more than 6 months for that. But I think he has a chance to become a candidate. I see the old guard of the Republican Party pulling a lot of strings behind the scene to prevent him from being their candidate.
Well, they're clearly polluting the party too. Rick Perry just announced that he's going to be running for
Are you serious?
Again.
Are you serious?
Yes, you've got Rick Santorum, who's forming a exploratory committee. I think that's what it's called.
Fuck out of here!
God, I think there's
does
9
Does that
or
still
10.
show up on Google, Santorum? If you Google his name,
yeah.
Let me check that real quick. Keep talking. I want to hear.
It's amazing because I truly think that Rand Paul has a shot of sending a message to the powers that be.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would be necessarily nominated.
Yeah.
But Ron Paul was able to send a clear message. He clearly got airtime on these last debates. He was able to kind of cause a ruckus, and I think Rand Paul is going to be able to piggyback off of the support from his father and get these, younger voters who are really coming to terms with what the government has done to them in terms of, this intrusive invasion of privacy and whatnot. But like you said, will the powers that be allow someone like Rand Paul to, become close enough to the presidential position? I don't know, but
I don't know. We had one president that started poking the pot, started nipping at the power elite's toes. He got stepped on. I think we all know who that was. Dallas, 1963.
Kennedy? Let's see. Oh, yeah. Wow.
He warned us about secret societies.
Yes, he did.
secret plotting, and invisible forces that control the government, and he intended to expose that conspiracy, and he made that statement days before he was shot. This is a tired, cliched topic. I'm not going to start us off on a Kennedy assassination tangent, but there's so much shady shit that doesn't add up with that story. We'll have to do an episode about that.
I don't think the truth will ever come out with that.
There's supposed to be some documents released in like 2023.
You're kidding?
Yeah,
really.
I based that off what I saw in the movie JFK. When the lawyer Kevin Costner's, I tell my son to stay in good shape, to run every day, so when he's 73 years old, he can run up those steps to the Supreme Court and see those documents that are released. And someday, maybe he'll be able to figure out the truth. I can't remember the line. I saw it like 7 years ago, but.
Well, hopefully, with that information, they'll have the real story of the moon landing too, because clearly, we did not go to the moon.
It's impossible. Look how far away it is.
I am not kidding. We did not go to the moon. We did not go to the moon.
Yeah, but don't you know that we had to go to the moon? Because, Buzz Aldrin is a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason.
Is that a fucking coincidence?
He performed his ritual on the moon in order to claim it for the Masonic Kingdom. Don't you know this?
Look,
for God's sakes.
He might have done that in a studio in some secretly videotaped blood ritual, but no one stepped foot on the moon. You are not going to sit there and tell me that somebody went up there with some bullshit tinfoil paper mache rocket and shot themselves to the fucking moon. It did not happen. Why haven't we gone back there? Technology has advanced.
This was clearly addressed
100-fold.
Mr. Revere, this was clearly addressed in the film Apollo 18 as giant moon spiders.
That is more plausible than the idea that we went to the fucking moon in a tin can and fucking tinfoil with a little bottle rocket attached to it. This is absurd. No. It didn't happen. It did. No, it did not.
It did happen. We're going to disagree on this because the Russians had a space program too, and they were aware of our operations in space, and they would not have missed an opportunity to call out a hoax and embarrass us on the world stage. If it was faked, they would have called us out on it immediately.
How do you know
they didn't do that?
How do you know they didn't?
Because they didn't. There's no news articles.
Oh, really? So the Illuminati news would publish these articles about the U.S. You think we'd be able to have access to them?
They would have been broadcasting it within the communist world, and they would not have had the power to stop that.
Look, all I'm saying is, answer me the simple question: why haven't we gone back? Why haven't we gone back?
The general answer is because, it's too expensive. We have problems we got to fix here first, which...
See?
I agree that's horseshit. I do believe we went to the moon. But I think the reason we haven't gone back is horseshit. He says, we have problems we need to deal with here.
Really?
Well, good fucking luck. Because you're basically counting on changing human nature, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. So
I think it's fucking bullshit. Okay, I think it's fucking bullshit. If they wanted to send somebody to the moon, they could. God, it's impossible.
It's impossible to go to the. Oh my.
To send humans to set foot on the moon and get back into a ship and come back is fucking impossible. Yeah. It is, especially 50 years ago. 50 years ago, there weren't even fucking microwaves that worked good. Okay? Well, they worked well. They did not send someone to the moon.
Proper grammar, but not the moon landing.
They did not. It is a ludicrous idea that someone went to the fucking moon 50 years ago.
It's not impossible. Science fiction films from that era clearly predicted we'd have cities on Mars, but time we'd all be wearing tights, have floating cars, and floating skateboards that fly through the air and everything. It's hoverboards. It's Yeah, we don't have those, but we have cell phones. It was
yeah.
I think it's a fair compromise. And as for the moon, I don't know what's going to tell you. I ascribe more to the theory that the reason we haven't been back to the moon is because they found alien relics on the moon, and that it's top secret. And we may be going back and forth to the moon all the time, and it's just covered up in a black budget space program. That I find more plausible. I don't think it was faked though.
I don't know.
What's the purpose of faking the moon landing?
To continue
the
fake ideology of American exceptionalism, especially in the Cold War, to create a unified United States and to rally around these 4 or 5 or whatever the fuck they were, 3 people. Yeah, 3 people that supposedly went to the moon. The U.S. needed something to bring everyone together. We had I think the beginning of Vietnam, recent Korean War, obviously World War II. Now the impending doom of all-out total destruction with Russia sending nukes and stuff.
You needed something to give hope and inspiration.
Exactly.
To people.
So they banded together. They had their barbecues and their cookouts and came up with this ludicrous idea that we're going to send people to the fucking moon. It's bullshit. Plant an American flag there that waves on its own.
Even though there's no wind.
No wind on the moon.
Explain that, NASA.
Yeah.
Why are there no stars in the background? Explain that.
Yeah. But they can't. No, they won't. And they don't have to. Because we went there. And Buzz Aldrin is an American hero.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
That whole Spanish-American War never happened. Completely made up.
Maybe it was. Maybe it was. How do we really know? How do we know anything happened? Honestly, how do we even know? I mean, we're affected by, I think, 2 or 3 generations.
Yeah.
Is usually how we're affected. Our grandfather's generation, and then our grandchildren's generation.
Okay.
Those are the generations we can touch.
Yeah.
So, do we even know that the Civil War happened?
Ask someone, your grandfather. Ask someone.
Ask your grandfather's.
Ask someone your grandfather's age if he knew someone when he was a kid who was an old man who was alive at that time. Or maybe he was a drummer boy, or maybe like his father, his grandfather his great grandfather or something fought in the Civil War. That's how. There's word of mouth.
Yeah,
historical accounts.
Okay? Word of mouth, which is usually how rumors start. Maybe all of our history books are just pre-written with these fictional tales of the world, how it is. Maybe the world is flat.
Well, I mean, all boards of education are controlled by agents of Moloch. That's a well-known fact. But
it's true. Do we really know? How we constantly bring up facts and all this stuff and other people's research. Do we know that their research is sound?
Do we know the Earth doesn't go around?
the
sun doesn't go around the Earth?
We don't.
That the geocentric model of the universe is not correct?
Yeah.
Do we know this? Do we know that the dinosaurs did not drown in the Great Flood?
Right.
That Noah's boat struck a brontosaurus head as it was drowning.
Or are dinosaur bones just God's test to see if we're good Christians? That is a theory.
We're opening up so many doors that we don't have time to explore here. But we went to the moon. Just say we went to the moon. That's it. I mean, we're running out of time. Just say we went to the moon.
Honestly, I'd rather die. I will not admit such an atrocious lie to other people and myself.
He regrets he has but one life to give
Yeah.
for this podcast. Friends, this has been the False Flag Nation podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Don't remember to subscribe. Ms. Revere, anything else?
I look forward to emails, tips, information. Look, send us ideas. If you guys want us to cover a topic, we'll do it. No problem. We've got a lot of great ideas that we're going to come up with and kind of put together for our next series of shows. And stay strapped, stay armed, and stay open-minded. This is William Revere signing out.
This is Prometheus. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Stay vigilant. I did start my own blog recently. It is getwiththeprogram.wordpress.com. That is the real name. I'm going to put a link soon in the YouTube channel, so you can check that out. I will be discussing things of that nature that we cover on here, as well as whatever random thoughts happen across my mind. And all the podcast-related updates will be going on there as well. So, once again, getwiththeprogram.wordpress.com. Stay vigilant, folks. I'm out.